Think about the last time someone got to you. They said something or did something, and before you had made any decision, before you had chosen anything, you had already responded. Voice up, chest tight, words out, and 5 minutes later, maybe 5 seconds later, you knew. You knew you'd handed something over. You knew you'd given them exactly what they were fishing for. You knew the reaction was the loss. Not the argument, not the outcome. The reaction itself. And the worst part wasn't what you said. The worst part was the feeling underneath it. The brief, sharp recognition that you were not in control of yourself in that moment. That something outside of you pulled a lever, and you moved. Marcus Aurelius called this the most dangerous vulnerability a man can carry. Not weakness of body, not lack of intelligence, not bad strategy. The inability to create distance between what happens to you and what you do next. There is a concept every high-level negotiator, every combat-trained soldier, and every elite performer across disciplines has had to learn, usually through getting it wrong first. Emotional hijacking. When a sufficiently strong stimulus reaches your nervous system, a threat, a humiliation, a provocation, real or perceived, your amygdala fires before your prefrontal cortex has had time to process the information. In plain language, your body reacts before your mind decides. You are responding to a threat signal before you have assessed whether the threat is real, whether the response is appropriate, or whether the response serves you. This is not a character flaw. It is a survival mechanism that was built for a different world, one where the threat was a predator, not a person at a meeting table. The mechanism cannot tell the difference, but you can. And that gap, the space between the signal firing and the moment you respond, is where everything is decided. Navy SEALs call it the 4-second rule. Hostage negotiators call it tactical pause. Viktor Frankl, writing from inside a Nazi concentration camp, called it the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose your response. In any given set of circumstances, Marcus Aurelius had a different name for it. He called it the discipline of assent, and he practiced it, deliberately, daily, for the entirety of his reign. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome for 19 years. In that time, he faced the Antonine Plague, one of the deadliest pandemics in Roman history, killing an estimated 5 million people, including soldiers under his direct command. He fought the Marcomannic Wars on the northern frontier, years of brutal, grinding conflict he had not sought and could not fully end. He discovered that Avidius Cassius, one of his most trusted generals, had declared himself emperor and was marching against him. And across all of it, the disease, the war, the betrayal, the documentation of his private thought, shows not a man who suppressed his reactions, a man who had built a practice of choosing them. In the Meditations, written during the wars, in a military tent on the Danube frontier, he wrote this: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And this, perhaps more precisely, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He was not writing philosophy from a place of comfort. He was writing it from the place where most men collapse. At the front, exhausted, surrounded by death, betrayed by someone he trusted. And the practice he returned to, every single time, was the same. What is actually within my control right now? Not the plague, not the war, not Cassius. His response, only his response. And that single discipline, the refusal to be moved without his own permission, is what kept 19 years of empire from becoming 19 years of chaos. So why, knowing all of this, knowing the reaction costs you, knowing you're being played when you bite, why does the pattern persist? 3 mechanisms, running simultaneously. The first, reacting, feels like agency. It is the opposite. When someone provokes you, and you respond immediately, it feels, in that moment, like you are doing something, like you are refusing to be passive, like response is a form of power. This is the trap, because reactive response is not agency. It is automation. Agency requires a decision. Reaction bypasses the decision entirely. The man who reacts immediately to every provocation is not powerful. He is predictable, and predictable men can be operated. If I know that a certain tone will make you raise your voice, I control your voice. If I know a certain topic will destabilize you, I control your composure. If I know you cannot let a challenge go unanswered, I control the agenda of every conversation we have. You think you are responding. You are being steered. The second, the emotional response, validates the provocation. When someone says something designed to diminish you, and you react with anger, defense, or visible upset, you have confirmed their premise. You have told them, with your body and your voice, that their words had enough weight to move you. That confirmation is what they were looking for, not the argument, not the win. The confirmation that they matter enough to affect you. Silence, deliberate, chosen silence, denies them the confirmation entirely. Your stillness, in the face of a provocation, communicates something no defense can. That what they said did not reach anything worth defending. That is not indifference. That is the highest form of dismissal. I want to walk you through something. Picture a room. Could be at work. Could be at home. Could be a conversation you've had 100 times. Someone says something. It's wrong. Or it's unfair. Or it's designed, consciously or not, to test you. Your jaw tightens. You feel it in your throat. The response is already forming before you've decided to speak. Now, in that exact moment, there are two versions of what happens next. Version 1. You respond immediately. You correct them. You defend yourself. Your voice carries the tension your body is holding. They see it. Everyone sees it. The argument may go anywhere from here, but the control already changed hands. The moment your jaw tightened and they noticed. Version 2. You pause. Not visibly, not a dramatic, performative pause. An interior pause. A single moment of choosing. You ask, does my response right now serve me? Or does it serve the reaction they are waiting for? And then, and only then, you decide what to say, or whether to say anything at all. The outcome of those two versions is not just different in that room, in that moment. It is different in every room, with that person, for as long as you know them, because they have now learned whether you can be moved. Marcus Aurelius faced a general with an army, marching toward him in open betrayal. His response was a letter, calm, direct, offering amnesty. Cassius died before it arrived. But the response, chosen, not reactive, is what the history books recorded, not the betrayal. The response. The third, and the one that seals the pattern. Most men have never been taught the difference between processing an emotion and being run by one. Processing is internal. It is the act of feeling the anger, the humiliation, the frustration, without immediately converting it into output. Being run by an emotion is the conversion happening automatically. No gap, no decision, no filter. The Stoics were not teaching you not to feel. Marcus felt everything. He writes about grief, about frustration, about the weight of the days. He felt it. He processed it. He decided what, if anything, it warranted in response. That sequence, feel, process, decide, is the entire discipline. And it is a discipline, which means it is built through repetition. Not understood once and applied perfectly. Built, incrementally, through practice. Every time you create that gap, even for 1 second, the gap gets easier to find the next time. Every time you close it, every time you fire before you decide, the automatic loop gets faster. You are always training one of the two. The question is which one you are training today. Here is what you build. Not a new mindset. A repeatable practice. 3 components. Step 1. Find your triggers before they find you. You already know what moves you. There is a specific person or type of person, a specific tone, a specific topic, a specific dynamic. You know it because you've been moved by it before, more than once. Your first task is to name it with precision. Not, when people disrespect me. Specific. When someone contradicts me in front of others. My chest tightens and I respond before I've decided to. That specificity is what makes it workable. Because a vague trigger cannot be prepared for. A named trigger can. Write it down. Tonight. 1 trigger. Name precisely. Step 2. Build the gap with a physical anchor. The gap between stimulus and response is not created by willpower in the moment. It is created by a pre-installed physical interruption. Willpower in the moment is already compromised. That is the definition of being triggered. You need something that fires before the response does. Marcus practiced what modern neuroscience now validates. Physical grounding interrupts the emotional hijack. Before the response forms, your anchor can be a single slow breath, not dramatic, not visible to the room, just one. The physical sensation of your feet on the floor. A word you say to yourself, internally, that functions as a reset. 1 anchor. Consistent. Predecided. The anchor is not a pause. The anchor is the signal to your nervous system that you are choosing what comes next. Practice it now. outside of conflict, so that it is already automatic when conflict arrives. Step 3. Replace reaction with a response delay protocol. When the trigger fires and the anchor activates, you have one question to ask before you speak. Is my response right now about the situation, or about how the situation is making me feel? If it's about the situation, respond clearly, directly, without excess. If it's about the feeling, say nothing or buy time. Let me think about that. I'll come back to you on this. I hear you. Not as evasion, as the deliberate act of separating the emotional signal from the considered response. This is not weakness. This is what Marcus Aurelius did on the Danube frontier. While an empire tried to destabilize him, he called it the discipline of assent. You are deciding what your mind agrees to act on. Not everything that arrives at your door deserves to be let in. You came into this video remembering a moment when you reacted and immediately knew it was the wrong move. That feeling, that sharp, immediate recognition, is not just regret. It is your own standard trying to reach you. It is the part of you that already understands that the reaction was the loss. Not what came before it, not what came after. The reaction itself. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. Not because he was the strongest, not because he was the most intelligent, not because he had the most resources, because in the moments that mattered, plague, war, betrayal, grief, he refused to be moved without his own permission. He wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not the insult that just landed, not the argument that's building, not the story you're already writing about what this means. This moment, this decision, this response, chosen. The people who will try to provoke you are not testing your intelligence. They are not testing your argument. They are testing your stability. And every time you hold, every time you create the gap and choose what lives inside it, you give them the same answer. You cannot be steered. That is not something you say. It is something you demonstrate. Every time. If this series is building something in you, subscribe. Episode 5 is next. The Law of Comfort. All 3 Stoics on the same subject. The trap most men are living inside right now. And calling it a life. Marcus called it a slow death. That video is already up. I'll see you there.